Hello everybody, welcome back. This is my wrap-up video where I talk about a little bit about what I've been listening to in the last month. I talk about first-time spins, um, top artists, etc. So please stick around if you're interested in what I'm listening to. Maybe it'll inspire you to listen to something new. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm really trying to hit 400 subscribers. I'm less than 10 away, and I would love to hit that 400 milestone. So please subscribe if you like my videos. So what I'll do here is first I'll just say, so what I've been doing this year since January is I've been keeping track of everything that I've been listening to all the way through. I don't count partial albums or songs on the radio. I count full albums that I've sat down with the intention of listening to it from start to finish, and that's what makes up this list. So with that being said, in the month of April, I listened to a total of 106 different albums. Now, some of those albums were 2-disc sets, including some of the Paul McCartney archives sets that I just got which I'll talk about on my previous video. So, it's 106 unique discs, CDs, records, whatever. And I will say that this past month, I've really put a focus on listening to music more than watching videos. No offense to anybody. I did a kind of a thread on this a few weeks ago where I talked about kind of wanting to set aside more time for music rather than, try to keep up with everybody's videos. And I love you all, but it's impossible to keep up with every video, and you can get lost. And so I'm still really wanting to listen to music as well as my priority. So I kind of took that by the horns, ran with it last month, and with that being said, April was the most that I've listened to music all year. So I'm happy with that. 106 albums. So let me go ahead and start with the let me go ahead and go with some first time spins. And I won't say much about these, but these are albums that they're not new albums. So obviously if I get the new the new Willie Nelson album, that's a first time spin, but it's everybody's first time spin. These are albums that have been around. Some of them have been around for a few years, some of them have been around for decades. So these are albums that I've never listened to all the way through. Going to present them to you in no particular order. So let me start. I've had some VCLT that I've been catching up on. REM, New Adventures in Hi-Fi. It was a little clunky to me. I've only listened to it once. I don't know. I hope it grows on me because I like REM. And it just, I don't know, it seemed, it wasn't, it didn't grab me like the way I wanted it to. But listening to that for the first time, Whiskey Town Whiskey Town's album Pneumonia. They're led by Ryan Adams, and I need to listen to this one again. It's Americana kind of music, a lot of ballads, but some good rockers too. So Whiskey Town. This is an album that I meant to talk about on my recent finds, but it also doubles as an album I've listened to for the first time. Paul Desmond, Take 10. I absolutely love this. Smooth jazz. Of course, Paul Desmond, he played alto sax with Dave Brubeck, and just smooth jazz. Love it, love it, love it. It's fantastic. Paul Desmond, Take 10. Next, another piece of VCLT, Sea Change by Beck. Again, another clunky album. It was heavy on filler, I thought, and very long, which is, I know that's oftentimes the complaint with Beck's albums, is that they're very long. But Sea Change by Beck. Next, let me go through 3 McCartney albums that I've never heard all the way through. First is Rose Speedway. Cool album, kind of the second. It's the second Wings album, and it's got the big hit My Love on it, and then they kind of do all sorts of different bonus tracks on side 2, but you have songs like One More Kiss, Big Barn Bed, Get on the Right Thing. So he was still trying to find his voice in Wings, but Red Rose Speedway. Then the first Wings album, Wildlife, often considered to be one of McCartney's worst. I didn't mind it so much, and come to think of it, I think I've listened to this album once, but I didn't really focus on it, so I'm going to count it with this list. But it's almost like the McCartney album Part 2, in my opinion. But whatever. So you had the start of Wings, so we're thankful for that. And then lastly, from Paul McCartney, Wings at the Speed of Sound. This was like the Wings album where he wanted Wings to be a band. So he's got everybody sings a lead song. Paul, Linda, Denny, Jimmy, and Joe English. Big hits on here. Let 'Em In. Silly love songs. Real funky stuff. And just pretty solid album. Again, not always considered one of his best, but I liked it a lot. Next, let's see. Okay, I'll do these. A couple of ELO albums. Balance of Power. Got some good stuff on there. Heaven Only Knows. Calling America. One of their later albums from the 80s. Secret Messages, ELO. Another later period. And then Time by ELO. This has one of my favorite ELO songs on it, Hold On Tight. And that's really the only song I knew on this. So, kind of cool. Getting into ELO's deeper catalog. And let's see. Next, Irish Heartbeat by Van Morrison and the Chieftains. This was really cool. Traditional Irish music mixed with Van Morrison originals, including the song Irish Heartbeat. He does a version of Celtic Ray from Beautiful Vision. Really good stuff with the Chieftains. I got that on Record Store Day for $3. It was in the used bin. The last two CDs are a couple more pieces of VCLT that I'm just getting around to. Grand Hotel by Procol Harum. Thank you, George Allen. I'm going to need to give this another spin, but it was pretty good from what I remember. And then this was really good. All American Made by Margot Price. Thank you, Robert S. This is on Third Man Records. And really impressed by that. So I'll be listening to that more for sure. And now let's go into vinyl that I've listened to for the first time. Because again, I got this almost brand new vinyl turntable from George Allen. And I've been spinning a lot more vinyl this past month. So first, Marshall Crenshaw. I've heard just about all these songs before, but I've never listened to this album all the way through. This is his debut. Cynical Girl, Someday, Someway. Great stuff on here. If you like 50s, but also kind of 80s new wave, Marshall Crenshaw. Next, the Desert Rose Band, starring Chris Hillman, Herb Peterson, and John Jorgensen. I got this for the song She Don't Love Nobody, written by John Hyatt. But there's some great stuff on here. Summer Wind is beautiful. Running is another fun one. Really good country rock album. And the last few pieces, let me get with this one first. I've had this one for a while from my record store. Labor of Lust. This is the 2011 reissue by Nick Lowe. It's got the big hit Cruel to Be Kind on it. So finally glad to spend that after holding on to it for about a year. And the last three vinyl records that I first time listened to are courtesy of Jeff Witcher. Point of No Return by Sinatra. Great stuff on here. When the World Was Young. There Will Never Be Another You. I'll Remember. September Song. These Foolish Things As Time Goes By. Sinatra at his peak during those Capitol years. His Hand in Mine by Elvis. This is one of his gospel albums. I love his version of Milky White Way is on here. Joshua Fit the Battle is fantastic. Swing Down Sweet Chariot is an absolute rocker. So check that out, even if you don't like gospel. Great stuff. And this one actually surprised me. This is the soundtrack to the film That's the Way It Is by Elvis from 1970, I believe. And kind of country ballads. He does a version of Bridge Over Troubled Water. So check that out. I like that a lot. So thank you, Jeff. Now, with big reveals, what artists have I, and albums that I listened to the most in April? So the let me go with top artists, and I've got 4 albums here. I don't really do like a top 5 or anything because sometimes it's only a couple of artists that I listen to a ton, and then I listen to 100 different artists. But I'm going to do a top 4 here. Number 4 is ELO, just because I've been getting all these new ELO albums and I've been getting into them more. So ELO is number 4. Also tied with number 4, Colin Hay, Now and the Evermore. This is the new album. This is just, in the number of times that I've listened to the artist. It's not necessarily that particular album, but in this case, I've listened to this album 4 times already this past month. So, Now and the Evermore, Colin Hay. Number 2 is going to be the Wood Brothers, because I got to see Oliver Wood at the end of last month, and I did a concert review on it. It didn't get hardly any views. I never get views with my Wood Brothers content, but I'm still going to talk about them because hopefully somebody will realize how good they actually are. But nobody watches the videos. But I've listened to a ton of Wood Brothers this past month, so they're number 2. And number 1, just because at the beginning of the month, on April 1st, I went to Greensboro to see Bob Dylan, and I was in the process of going through the discography that I own, and I wasn't even halfway done by the time April 1st rolled around, so I listened to essentially the back half of his discography through April. So Bob Dylan, whopping 20 albums this past month. So that's my number 1 artist, is Bob Dylan. Surprise, surprise, right? No surprise there. And now, in no particular order, with the exception of my number 1, these are the most listened to albums this month. I saw the Wallflowers in April, so I've been listening to the album Bringing Down the Horse. I've listened to it a few times this past month. So I've listened to a lot of big band, especially Tommy Dorsey, his greatest hits. I've listened to this a few times. It just reminds me of summertime. I love it. Love big band music. Pokey Lafarge, this particular album, I got it this month, and I forgot how much I liked it. This was how I was first introduced to Pokey, and I never purchased the album, but it's on Third Man Records for you Jack White fans. Please check it out if you like ragtime American music. Pokey Lafarge. Country Squire by Tyler Childers. I've talked about this album before. Fantastic outlaw album. It's produced by Sturgill Simpson and the outlaw scene, and just fantastic. It all flows together. Short album. It's only 9 songs. Check it out. It's really, really good. Kind of trippy. Brent Cobb, and Now Let's Turn the Page. I think this made the list last month. I just love this album. It's become a staple on Sunday mornings. It's a gospel album. He does a bunch of old hymns that he grew up with, including an original song that he wrote for his deceased grandma called When It's My Time. Beautiful song. So, Brent Cobb, cousin to producer Dave Cobb, for those of y'all that are interested. This is probably the biggest surprise, the Muppet Show album. So I first got this turntable from George and finally set it up fully intact at the beginning of April. And so I was testing it out on some older records. And this is one of the ones that I tested it out on. And I played it. I had visitors a couple times last month, and I'm like, y'all should, let's listen to the Muppet album. It's just fun. So really talented group of people on that album. So there you go, the Muppet album. And number 1 this past month, I'm probably going to talk about this album throughout the year. Now and the Evermore, Colin Hay. Check it out. Contributions from Ringo Starr on here on the first song, produced by Colin Hay. It's folk, it's British, it's Australian, it's Americana, it's country, it's pop, it's jangly. It's fantastic. Please, please, please do yourself a favor. Check out Now and the Evermore by Colin Hay. And with that being said, there's your April wrap up in my world. Check out some of those albums if you haven't heard them already. Let me know if you know any of these albums. I would love to talk to y'all in the comments. So in the meantime, y'all be good, and I will see y'all next month on the next installment of this. But you'll probably see me in the meantime on other videos as well. So y'all be good, take care, and I'll talk to y'all soon.